Grand Rising, Skenangoa. This is Seava with the White Buffalo, Rainbow White Buffalo, and Rainbow Buffalo Nation. And we are very honored to have this morning as our special guest and teacher on the path to uh, full freedom and restoration of Earth and ourselves. Welcome, Sov Ameri.
Hey,
Thank
great
you
day
very
to
much.
you. Appreciate joining you. You've been very cooperative and we've worked together for a couple of decades now, I think.
Well, it may feel like it. That's what Dane says. It feels like it's been a couple of decades. You and I actually would have met in about 2017, 2018 is when I was doing my first round of um, broadcasts on featuring those who hold true wisdom and keys to uh, what some would call the kingdom, which I also call the queendom, but to heaven on Mother Earth, which really just means the restoration of true natural law and the coming of our living in alignment with Creator's design. So, as this is our sacred council, I'm going to, well, first up, let me introduce myself in the traditional way. My name is Seava, also known as Lisa Wolf. I'm the daughter of Muriel and Philip, the granddaughter of um, Sadie and Lillian, and Bernard and Lee, the granddaughter of Yetta and Rose, mother of Alicia and Misa, grandmother of Charles and Lucy, and I'm the what they call the Cassus of Missus for the for Great Spirit, for the sovereign grandmother Earth, grandmother Moon, and what I call grandmother Sky Woman. Others call Wankantanka Great Spirit, the you know Father, Mother, Mother, Father, Creator. And so I'm going to read the short version of the Thanksgiving prayer. And thank you to our relatives of the Longhouse for sharing this. So we offer thanks to Sky Woman, the first being in the physical world, our grandmother Moon, the beating heart of our Mother Earth, where people dwell, and to all the women, from the youngest to the eldest, as they are the mothers of our nations, to the streams of water, to the pools and the lakes, and all the life that lives within, to the corn, bean, and squash, the three sisters of sustenance, to the fruits, to the medicinal plants, to the forest trees for their usefulness, to the animals that serve as food and give their pelts for clothing, to the great winds and the lesser winds, to our grandfathers, the thunders, to our eldest brother, the sun, the mighty warrior, to the winged creatures that live upon the winds, those messengers of life that reveal the Creator's wishes, and to the great Creator that dwells in all things, giving all things useful to the united people, and is the source and ruler of all health and life. And then I'm going to, because both Sav and I are students of Yeshua and devotees, as you would say, of the path of peace laid out, peacemaker, which others know him by over here.
Yeah,
So
thank you. I'll call you.
I'm going. I'm going to. I randomly opened. Um, this is a. I like to hang out with the Greek Orthodox and Russian Orthodox sometimes. And anyway, I just opened the book, and here's what I came to. Mary exults in God, the Magnificat. This is Luke 146 for those who want to look it up. And Mary said, my soul magnifies the Lord, and my spirit has rejoiced in good, my Savior, for he has regarded the lowly state of his maidservant. For behold, henceforth all generations will call me blessed. For he who is mighty has done great things for me, and holy is his name, and his mercy is on those who fear him from generation to generation. He has shown strength with his arm, he has scattered the proud in the imagination of their hearts. He has put down the mighty from their thrones and exalted the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things, and the rich he has sent away empty. He has helped his servant Israel in remembrance of his mercy, as he spoke to our fathers and mothers, to Abraham and to his seed forever. And so let us begin. May we be hollow bones. May that which is communicated be for the mending of the hoop and the healing of the earth. And I will give a little bit of a brief background. Yes, I'm honored to know this man, and I consider him one of the sitting chiefs of the nation. He has selflessly given his time and wisdom, and always from a good mind. And as I've gone through trials and tribulations, he's smiled, always given me good guidance, and I trust him with my life. And so I give the feathers, so to speak, to him, and I ask, may may the Holy Spirit fill your cup with good words to share with us. And again, thank you, Sav, for being here, and blessings to you. You're south of you're in what they call Panama, is that correct?
Currently, yes.
So blessings to all there in those beautiful lands. So
Yeah.
floor is yours.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that, Lisa. Uh, we've worked together a pretty good while, helped a lot of people, and I wanted to take the time to discuss a few things because there's a lot of debate and efforts going on trying to deal with the sovereignty of the individual. I think it's about 3 weeks ago, I wrote another letter to the United Nations and included a White Buffalo Nation and tribal nations in that letter, as I've done before. I've actually been to the United Nations 4 times, got very positive response for them. And I have taken them, just a brief view, the Sovereign American ID, Sovereign People's ID, and also the Sovereign People's Passport. They have recognized and welcomed both of them. As far as IDs go, there's information for me, and I've never sold anything. This is not a pitch. This is the way I've been living my life. For 35 years, I have not had a state ID. This has been my only ID. And I have used it at the Treasury Department, Secretary of State, various courts, including district court, federal district court, and other places. And even going in there, they say, well, we can't let you in. Sometimes the officers do because you don't have a driver's license. But then they contact upstairs, and the judge or the head, in this particular case, the head of the Secretary of State's
You just froze, Sav.
office and the Treasury Department said that
You're freezing.
that does
Okay.
not matter. Some people so yeah.
Oh, Sav, you're
But
freezing
go
on
go ahead.
my
These are
um I don't know if it's my internet. I don't know if Zoom is picking it up, but you are
go ahead.
freezing. You're freezing now and then. So you may have to repeat yourself what you just said because you were freezing. So try speaking.
I'm sure.
Okay.
Can you hear me all right?
I can hear you. Um, and those listeners, if you listen now and if there's breakups, we'll just do it again. We're gonna do this a lot.
Okay, well, that's about it. Okay. Well, hopefully the audio will come through just fine. But this idea,
Yeah,
I've used
hopefully.
it for 35 years, and I don't intend
So
to have
how
a
did you
state I
come
people.
how did you come to this
Well,
revelation that
well,
works?
well, basically, I just read the law, and another thing about it, I include a law on the card because my this is by my self determination, nothing more. Nobody told me what to do. You know, I prayed a lot about it. And I thought, how do you write things? Well, first off, you start by writing yourself because you can't write anything else till you write yourself first. And I looked at all the laws, said, I didn't know what the answer was. So I just, I said, if you're throwing a dart at the dartboard, what's the bullseye? I had no idea. All my research says the bullseye is the sovereignty of the individual. So how do you stand up for the sovereignty? Well, you should be able to include the
Right.
law. So when you walk into, and that's what I put on both this and the sovereign people's passport, I include the law in there. So you should be able to walk into any court, national or international, which is exactly what I did at the United Nations. And like on the passport, I've got the Declaration of Independence on one side, and then I've got the law, all the laws that said it is you and I who are the sovereigns. It's not any government or state. And then on another page, I've got a lot of case law that says, yeah, that's the law. So I've done a whole lot of work. And another thing about it that I learned, and so I've been doing forever, well, ever last 35 years, is you need to make your declaration. And that's something that Lisa has done on her end. As far as following through and other things, we may differ, but you make your declaration that you are the sovereign with all rights retained, all powers reserved, Ninth and 10th Amendment in this case. For Native Americans, which working with Lisa and a few others, we also modified our card so it includes the Tudor Wampum Treaty. And we did that in support
Oh
of
wow.
our Native brothers and sisters. And that's why Lisa and I and some others have chosen to join together, and why I've gone to the United Nations trying to stand up for all people so similarly situated.
Thank you so much. So you went to the UN in New York or did you go in Switzerland?
No, Panama.
Oh, you went in Panama.
Yeah,
Wow,
that's
I
why I
didn't
do.
know there was a UN in Panama.
Yeah,
Oh,
now I make it a lot easier.
oh wow.
And like
Cool.
I said, I've been there 4 times. They've been very helpful and supportive to the
Wow.
point they said if there's any legal or lawful conflict between the sovereign people in a state, for example, that
Yeah.
the proper venue for that conflict is the World Court for this hemisphere, which is located in Costa Rica.
Oh my goodness. Get to go to Costa Rica for disputes? Woo-ha.
Yeah,
I got
that would be
invited. And I have a place for us to land in case you don't. We've been
it.
invited to Earth Rose Farm. Brother Maji, he's expecting us. He wants me to
Okay,
and teach them how to do the low tech uh hemp processing that I do
okay,
sometime here. So I look forward to that. And once I have an ID that works, I'll be able to travel because I let my US passport go. So here, listeners are not familiar with everything that we're speaking of. Why is this beneficial for people to choose? What are we calling it a sovereign passport? What's it called?
I call it a sovereign people's passport. Is what I call it.
That's a good word. Good words.
Well, you use people, do not use citizen or resident because sorry about that, because citizen means you're the subject of another of a state. and I don't believe in being the subject of another, because you cannot be a sovereign and be a subject either, both.
So you don't use the combination sovereign citizen then either.
No, no, it makes no sense at all. You cannot be a sovereign and a citizen because a
And can
citizen is the subject of
yeah,
the state.
okay.
Excuse me?
Yeah, I'm sorry to me. Bad habit.
No, that's fine. As a matter of
So
fact, go
lay
ahead.
out lay out who who we are otherwise and what the solution is and why this is key to the solution. Um, Especially because I have, some people are like, oh, well, I'm free, I'm free. Well, yeah, you may be free, but if you want to travel across borders and operate in the private, you need, why do we need this, Sav?
Well, and they're partially correct. You are free to the extent that you're a subject of the state. All right. So as long as they give you permission, yeah, you're free to go do whatever they tell you can do. All right. But that
Right.
means that ignores the sovereignty and the rights and powers and authority of the individual, which is what the founding documents of the United States of America were based on.
Is individual the right word, or I'm just being picky, or does that have legal connotations of its own?
I'm sure it
Or
has legal connotations to it, but usually a individual, which I haven't actually found defined, all right, but an individual in most of the definitions includes the term person. Well, person is a legal fiction. Well, there's nothing
right,
fictional for you or I. We're natural living
women.
men and women.
Yes. Okay, go on. Um,
And just
so
some more points on these ID because I think it's really important. Like I said, I include the law on the front and on the back. And I did this back in 1995. And in that, I declared, gave constructive and other judicial notice that all data, no matter where it is, that is associated with me is my private property, and that no corporation or anything has the right or authority to maintain or save it on their servers.
so
So
that
once
includes your face, your all everything associated with you.
your
You're
bio data, everything is your own private person.
now, does this supersede then does this take away the need? I know a lot of people are researching right now and exploring what's called claim the name. That process of creating
Right, right.
just is that necessary?
Well, that's a method of going with it, but what I'd like people to think about that are doing this and other things, and I'm not putting it down, go for it. It may be just right for you. But when you're doing that, you're still consenting and being a member of that state entity.
Right,
You're
you're
not
creating
singing up.
EIN, another EIN for you're creating another, you're claiming title to your um
Yeah, you're creating
property.
another legal fiction.
Right.
You're creating another entity. Why would you do that? I think it's better just to be straight up, be your natural living self, and retain all your rights unto yourself. Don't give rights, powers, and authority to anyone, particularly representatives that don't.
So what about right to travel? Does this also function as a driver's, not the word license, but identification?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
every
that.
benefits are totally on hold. I've got my private plates, but I, I, I I don't, to use the vernacular, have the balls to put them on any of my vehicles as yet.
Yeah, fine, no problem. Totally understand that. Everything comes with a risk, and I've taken my licks along the way. But as far as that goes, yeah, if you stand on your rights, you've got them.
Hold on, you're freezing. Thanks everyone for your
And
patience.
I, yeah, I actually offered and gave
They must really not want you to communicate this, Sav, because they keep freezing you on my
And
end.
my sovereign American ID at the time. Two things. Okay. He said two things that really got my attention.
Come on,
It was really helpful. Yeah,
they're freezing you, Sav. They're so funny. They do this,
does not purport to be a driving document. So I modified it.
when they give us bandwidth
Go
again.
ahead.
Oh, they just keep
Hello.
freezing. Hi. They're they're so funny. Hold on one second. Um,
Yeah, I got no idea what
yeah, it's so funny the way they play with us when we release important
you're saying
information.
right now. Continue.
You-
I'll go ahead
All right.
in case the voice side's working and travel of the individual named on the card. So that does cover it. As far as the law goes, if you do not have a driver's license, then that does not give or it's been expired or you let it expire. Personally, I sent in an email to the DMV and the Treasury Department. Why? Because the DMV is under the Treasury Department. And I gave them notice that I rescinded my signature on those documents and that I was a private owner of my own private vehicle. Well, excuse me, my own private automobile. Never used the term vehicle. And that's the way that's been for 35 years. I have
All
not
right. I have
gotten, go ahead.
now some people are saying that you have to get the original manufacturer's paperwork, which is next to impossible to get. Most of us have given title to the DMV. What about that?
Right. Well, given that you can't get it most of the time, what's the simple solution? I don't know, but for me, what I did, anytime I buy a new car, they're typically used cars, but all I do is I write to the DMV and the Treasury Department, because again, the DMV is under the Treasury Department, and I give them notice that I have a new private automobile that's my private property, and that has no consent for it to be under the public charitable trust to take it out of their system and identify it as private property, which they've actually done. Because one time I got pulled over and they looked up my automobile and it came up as private property. So if people follow the law does work. So that's the good news of it.
You broke up in this, so can you give us the ABCs once more? Say say you decide, okay, I I I,
Okay, well,
I want to get I want to go with this ID, this passport, this documentation,
you need
and
me to pick up.
to to travel free. The vehicle process. Yeah, they keep
Yeah,
freezing.
not hearing you right now.
All right. Um, I'm gonna say we'll see
Hello. Hey guys.
we'll see how much this recording gives us. If we have a problem, what we will do is record it. We'll another way too, because I see that I'm internet connected, you are, and they keep freezing us. So can you hear me? As an activist, I've had experiences where I was one
I
time,
can now.
okay, I was just gonna,
I hear you.
okay. They do this when important information is being released, They one time I had them knock out the internet for my whole town. I was about to interview a really important scientist and half an hour before I was supposed to go on the air, they just turned off the internet. They're so funny. Um All right. Well, let you go back to what you and your good mind know needs to be communicated. Um, and we'll see, you know, what translates when we
All right.
publish.
Well, I think the short and skinny of it, you can have your own ID. It's smart. What I've been telling people for 3 decades now, we should all be on the same page. So we should all, whatever it is, we should all use the same IDs and identification stuff. Our own system should be on a decentralized system. I've designed it all. I just don't have any support or any people to help out with it. And it's not like exactly a one man job, but
So
people
what,
can go ahead.
so what, let's put out a help call. What do you need specifically? What tasks do you need help with?
Well, mostly it's system stuff, some programming and things like that, which I've got a handle on most of it. But financing for servers and things like that, people want their cards and the passports. I've done it before where I ended up, people made commitments and I did a bunch of cards and passports. And then I paid a pretty good bill and, you know, I'm stuck with that. So I just don't need that type of aggravation. I'm here to help and support people. My idea is that what I create to give away to the people. It doesn't mean it ends up being free because it costs. And I'm not interested in making a dime off of anybody. But
Well,
you go ahead.
I would think as the number of people who participate goes up, that the cost would go down, wouldn't it? I mean, it would spread more.
That's the way I would manage things, and I'll just stretch it out a little bit further because I've got a full system design, know how to pull it off, but people don't listen. They don't, frankly, and I'm not putting anybody down, but I don't think a lot of people know enough to know what to do. What we, the people, should do, and it can be done relatively inexpensively if we were smart, we should create and have our own cell phone company, just like a mobile, other things, but be owned by the people. And through that process, then we can reduce our own costs because it's our own system. And that way, it gives us a way to start taking our own data and our own communications back. You
Well, I
understand?
I heard a presentation, that guy Mike, that I told you you ought to listen to his presentation during the um eighth fire ceremony last week. He's a friend of
Right.
Chief Phil Lane's. He's they're they're putting the clear system forward. They're volunteering theirs as a decentralized that can work with the sovereignty movement, actually. So
Well,
he
go
might
ahead.
be somebody you want to talk to, but I'm a little suspicious.
I did take a look at that when you told me about it. Um, the decentralized part makes a lot of sense, but the creators of it, I would say, and I would say I'd have some questions about it.
Yeah, I do too, with all the corporations that are involved.
Right,
Not
right.
necessarily the countries, but the corporations. Yeah,
Yeah, and
I
this
that
needs
was
to be done by and for the
the
people.
say.
This needs to be done and by and for the people. It's a correct and right thing to do. But
Yes,
it's just kind of like, and I'm not putting anybody down. It's like President Trump, Truth Social, and even the Twitter X. Not really good designs, all in all. Not
right.
overly functional, and certainly, well, not actually designed real well for the people, in my opinion.
I would agree. I would agree. So, let's just, can you summarize this again? What it would look like for the people to put this into action?
Well, it's very simple. We don't have to overthink it. First, if you want to be free, take control of yourself. And you start doing that, in my opinion, and by my action. First thing, and I didn't know, I go, well, what's the first thing I'm going to do? I take myself back, which means I take control of all of my data. I'm the owner of my identification. We do not use numbers, never going to use numbers. There's a simpler process of doing it where you don't need to use numbers or anything. And that's what we've implemented. It's not like rocket science. You do need to make a declaration, in my opinion. Well, by law, you don't have to, but I've done it because I think it's wise. And then I record that in the public record, never register, but you record it so that you give public notice. And then by
When you
law,
when you say recorded, is that publishing it in the newspaper? Is that recording it with the county recorder? How do you do that?
right, you can do it any way that you want. Typically, I just go down to the county and put it in the public record, pay the $3, $7 or whatever, and they stamp it and hand it back to you.
Does notarizing function that way as well? Is that a path or
No, notarizing is fine. I don't use notarization. Two authorized, not authorized, but two signatures does the same thing lawfully. So I prefer that matter. But when you're recording a document, all it needs is your signature. Remember, who's the sovereign? Is it you or the county? And once you take your
I
document in,
thought that when I've said it, read it repeatedly into the public discourse and followed the oral tradition that I've announced it and that therefore I've proclaimed it.
and that could be very well. I would keep a copy of the recording.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
it wouldn't be unwise. But no, verbals lawfully just as standing. It's a statutory stuff that requires everything to be notarized and written and everything else. But a verbal contract, a private agreement, stands in law.
Now, one of the reasons, and you know my situation that, and a lot of people are facing this right now. It's like how they killed all the buffalo. I mean, they're purposely impoverishing people. Um, I mean, a lot of jobs are being replaced by AI. I mean, it's often hard to find a way to make right livelihood these days. So I think one of the reasons that people have become interested in claim the name is because they're wanting to continue to be able to receive those monies that they paid into through their straw man or straw woman identity. And, because I have a personal friend who, in her own path, she now has no ID. She has no access, she doesn't qualify for Social Security, the great SS monies. And my goodness, has such a
Did she
Nazi.
already pay into it?
What's that?
Did she already pay into it?
I think years ago she did. I mean, I did, you
Okay.
know, and I don't want to, because right now, if I wasn't getting those monies, and not that I like to announce it to you know,
Yeah, I understand.
but it would, wouldn't stay solvent while we're developing alternatives. Um, so that's off, and I see that a lot, even, in Native American circles, to use, the vernacular,
Yeah,
because
that applies to everybody. It's
Mhm.
something people are forced into. They call it a benefit because of the state, but it's not. It's a right. Basically, it's a right by theft. To
Right.
get those funds back, and you never get your funds back anyway. You just get a portion of it.
Well, and they're not real money, they're debt usury instruments. I
Exactly.
mean, increasing the debt every time you pass them. They're a scam, but they function right now.
Right.
So, so that's, often become a concern. Now let's talk for a second. It just popped into my head. What about this whole and I have a different perspective on it because of being a student of Meredith Quinn, and they often were he explores the problem with Indians becoming nationals. And there's a whole lot of emphasis running around, about becoming state nationals. What do you think about all that? Is that
Fairly
necessary?
familiar with that. I would not think so for this reason. You become a state national or anything else, you're claiming to be the subject of the state, right? Why would you do
Right.
that? The state is subject to you because you are the sovereign by law, by statute created by legislation. That would not be correct. So you got to decide which side of the fence you're going to be on, and you can't straddle the fence. You can't be on one side one day, on the other side the next. The challenge that you presented just a few minutes ago is you're forced into this statutory system where they're going to take whatever they can from you, Social Security, for example, to pay you back in benefits. When once it's a taking, it's not a benefit, it's a right to get your funds back. And it's
Okay.
something that's forced upon you. It's not typically by free will or full knowledge of the law.
What about, the whole thing of getting your long form birth certificate? And I mean, I watch all those things and those things take a lot of money too. I mean, what's actually necessary, Sov?
Well, I just run this by you for thought, and it may be different from what other people do and think. But I want anybody to think about it. If you're the sovereign, you don't need anybody else. You can do this on your own. For example, and you know this, we have been using our own marriage documents for over 15 years at this point. You usually get them from the state. As a matter of fact, the state of Alabama, a few years back, said they're getting out of doing marriage license because it's not the business of the state, which is
Wow,
exactly what I was paying over 15 years ago. So
that's
you can do that for yourself. Addressing the private automobile thing about the MCO or whatever it's called.
right.
What's the solution? I don't know, but what I did, I just wrote my own document. This is my title. Now, again, what I tell you, people don't listen and they want to steal other people's ideas, change the documents, things like that. But that's not the way it's going to work. We should all
No,
use whatever
respectful.
the document is, but we can have our own titles for our own private land, for our own private automobiles, airplanes,
Oh,
boats, or what.
that's okay. Ding, ding, ding. That you just, hit the jackpot on questions. Our own land. Right now, like the White Buffalo Nation lands, they're all on the county. Um, they're actually owned by the county. And if I should miss taxes for 3 years, they will sell our our nation's property out from under us. How do we
Right.
fix that?
That's a tough one, but there are things you can do, but they don't like it. Number one, it's all based on tax records, and that's by the what you do. You got to go in there to BLM and get your description based on meets and bounds, not a title description. Because if you use their legal tax description, you're saying this is a taxable piece of property. So you
Now,
can go in.
do
Go
the
ahead.
BL why does the BLM would hold records for Crescent Valley, even though it's not their land? I mean, we are surrounded by BLM land here, which is the
Yeah, but
taking native land. It
BLM is supposed to have records on all property.
really.
Yeah, back in the 1800s or whatever, everything went through the BLM. As a matter of fact, I came across the old documents for a family house that's probably close to 200 years old now. Well, when
Wow.
it was originally purchased, the purchase of the property actually came from the United States Treasury Department, and it was not taxable. It was allodial property. And then over decades and decades and centuries, they encroach and they take away the people's right to their own property.
They've taken away the right to file for a allodial title, to my understanding. I think I
Okay,
researched it a few weeks
okay,
ago, and it's
perfect.
Nevada, you can't allodial title.
Take that for example. What lawful right, power, and authority do they have to take away your right and ability to declare or claim allodial ownership of your private property? There can be no be
So
no law.
that would be a denial of rights under color of law.
Exactly.
I have
Exactly.
learned a little from you, Sop. Let's talk about that. I don't think people are aware of that. Let's
Well,
give them a little
it's really
gift.
funny
Oh, they're stopping you again. Just hang on a second. They don't want you to talk.
to hear people thinking, "Are you?"
They're freezing you, Sav. Everything you're saying is so important, they keep freezing you. I had that happen one time. I was doing some inspired recordings on Facebook, and they just got
Yeah,
sick of.
I would say I'm
Um, we may do. We'll have to. You know how sometime we'll see how much of this recording comes out, and I apologize to all of our listeners in advance. Um, maybe we ought to do. Isn't there a way we can do a Facebook meeting, a strictly Facebook meeting too? Is there a way to do that? Maybe they'll give us a better stream.
I lost you.
Hmm. Uh,
I don't know what you're saying.
I'm saying they keep freezing you on my end. You keep breaking up. I
Yeah,
keep
and it's
having.
probably I think it's a signal
I
thing,
think,
Lisa.
yeah, yeah, it's just a signal thing, Sav. Sav and I are funny. Sometimes we always know that we're being listened to. I mean, everybody should assume. That's like my friend Master Chen, he says he says one should assume that everyone can hear each other's thoughts, and that makes people wake up a little. But the second thing is in this day and age when one should assume, especially when one is talking about issues of how to, what everyone calls colloquially, escape the matrix, that they're definitely listening. And um, the AI doesn't like being, the masters of the AI have programmed it in such a way as to.
Yeah, and just remember, AI. There is no such freaking thing as AI. It's just a collection of programs that may not be that well written to start with, and there's nothing intelligent about it, frankly.
Thank you. All right, so let's get back to building what needs to be built and the help that you need. And also um how like, using me for an example. So how do I move forward? What do you need from me? You need a a passport picture still?
Yeah, that and the data as far as doing documents, but people need to decide what they're going to do. Are they going to take ownership of themselves back, or they want to do it as a different group, which undermines when people start segmenting and doing their way this way, somebody else's
But
way another thing. It
why do
just
they even have to? We can all cooperate, keep our our identity and be cooperative. I mean, I don't give
yeah,
up being
yeah,
white Buffalo Nation by doing it this way. Nobody has to get
exactly.
anything.
Yeah, and like I said, you and I, we've been supporting each other pretty positive for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
if people decide they want to do their own identification and they want to declare that they are the sovereigns and they retain all rights, reserve all powers, from that you've got a core you can move from. Until people do that, you've got nothing to work with.
Right. So right now, Sav, is it, I mean, is it just you or is there anybody else in your core circle who's using your documents? Or are we right at the floodgates?
Well, let's just say we're right at the floodgates, but there are people that have been using my documents for quite a few years, um, probably over easily over 20, maybe over 30 in some cases. But the numbers aren't real big. And I'm the only one that I know that has gone to the United Nations on four different counts, supporting different groups like yours, supporting some other people out west. They asked me to go in there, which I did. I got a lot of good support from the United Nations. Like I said, I haven't received a response back from what I sent them about 3 weeks ago, but I asked them for some information and I'll take a little time to come up with.
Could you send me, I know you, I didn't see it in my emails. I know you thought, or you did send it to me. Could you send it again? The,
Yeah, I'll try to look. Yeah, I did send it, but I'll look it back up and get it to you.
I did a quick look and I didn't see it. So,
Okay, no problem.
um, so how does one's life change when one does this?
Well, interesting question. For me, once I did it, I started feeling a lot more free. You know, there are times I still got
I know.
assaulted.
What does that even feel like, Sav? I mean, we've all grown up in as slaves. What could it possibly feel like to feel more free?
It's like I don't have it right now, but the cat, here you go with the crown on it. You know, you're the king of you. That's why I came up with that logo. I mean, why would you wear a logo that says, not say anything bad about Nike or Harley Davidson, or put somebody's name or symbol on you or your own private property? You know, that's why I created the crown with the S in it. The S stands for sovereignty of the individual, the spirit, and the soul of the individual. That's why the three crown points. So sovereignty, spirit, and the soul
Is
of the
this
individual.
the E?
I don't know what you said.
Sorry to interrupt, but I mean, we all talk about like we talk about Washington D.C., London problem. Excuse no disrespect to any of the the so-called elite, whatever. But so sudden, I mean, this is like, and that's like taking it back too, isn't it?
That,
Spiritually.
that, that's the whole point of it, is to take everything about yourself back. And what you do is take it so the powers that be, and I don't talk about people with powers. I talk about people in public offices with duties and responsibility to the people. And I encourage people and suggest stop using the term power in relation to those entities or persons.
They are persons by
Right.
definition.
Exactly. That's why I said that.
Okay. So, in the past, we've also talked about the possibility of a course as being part of the package. Is that something that you still have laid out a plan? I mean, this
Yeah,
is
I've been ready to do this over 35 years. Just, I don't do sales and marketing. The people have not been aware enough or use their heads enough to be ready to do anything. And right now, we're pretty much, frankly, past time to take corrective action. You can always take correction action, but the force, and it's literally force, is against the people.
yes. Well, there's, we're looking at a agenda 2025 rolling down like it's like we're tied to the railroad tracks and there's a train coming at us.
Yeah, but we can. You're exactly right. But people have to get a brain and understand you can change it any time. And you got basically three options. You can never make a change. You can decide to make a change and do it now, or you can do it years from now, which most likely is not going to happen. I'm on the
Train.
get, I'm on the get it now, done now plan because we're all in the same boat. None of us are going to get out of alive. I want to leave the best I can
Well, I
to the world
differ
if possible.
because I would beg to differ. I would say that in this time of miracles, because I do walk under, the protection of the white buffalo calf woman and the holy, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and their chief, Yeshua, and, our divine creator, our mother, father, creator, known by many names, honoring, and me, honoring the highest truths of all paths short of human and animal sacrifice and the coming of heaven on Mother Earth. So we have a bet. I bet you that you're going to still be here because I believe, and I hope that I know that this is the time of the beginning, the end, which is the beginning, and that I believe in our tradition, we call it, the first resurrection and the second resurrection. And I believe that we are moving into those times. So um, I think, that's what's prophesied to come is that the tears will be wiped away and that we will be restored to our true nature. Because the fall was a lie, was the beginning of a lie, was the beginning of the takeover of a paradise world by crazy, criminally insane antimatter by the I mean, it's not like the living dead is something new. We're all living dead. Like you say, we're all sitting with a death sentence, and we know that, the author of our faith proved that death had no hold over him and that he wants to give that gift to all of us. And as his ally, I likewise want to see that gift, but only to the good. We don't need any adrenochrome junkies running around anymore.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well,
So
I'm
I'll wait for you to unfreeze. Go ahead.
pretty much on the let's get it done plan. Can't move faster than the car
Well, I'm in, and I'm going to. I give my
and
word.
the highway.
I give my word as good as my witness. Let's get this done for me. I'm more than happy to be a guinea pig. Not really a bit guinea pig,
Okay,
but
you cutting out. I don't know.
I said, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Hello.
I said, I'm ready. Let's do this. They
Think
keep
you're back.
freezing. I'm
Well,
ready. Let's
Lisa, is
do
there anything I can
this.
do for you?
Let's show the world how it's done. All right. So everybody, this is going to be a work in progress. So I'm letting everyone know
I'm not
that
hearing it.
I'm going to be the test subject and I'm going to do this. And
Okay. Well, I hear you now.
I said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be the example. I'm going to, we're going to lead by example. You're already leading by example. And now I'm going to go through the process. So, anything else that you want to let everybody know in this first revelation?
Well, I would just ask one question. How many people want to actually get something done, be involved, and actually do it? That's the bottom line.
Well, I'd suggest that we talked to John Raymer, um, and whatever they're called, that organization, which has a lot of people, and that we set up a regular window, for people to come, and we start bringing people in the door, right? Like
All right.
gatekeepers. So we'll
That,
work on,
that,
I have been working with, and I may continue because I'm finding a lot of good getting done. I've been working with Shonda Clausen and the Earth Mother Network in alliance with its I think it's called One World, that Chief Phil has been working with John Raymer and people from all over the world, and all kinds of good groups coming together, Native American, non-Native, founding mothers and people. But
yeah, we
this is
just need, go ahead.
people need to actually have something concrete. A lot of it is just philosophical, but they're still stuck in the quagmire with their identities, right? And
Right.
or they want to fight over power. It's like once I started saying white Buffalo Nation, suddenly all my friends are nations too. You know, they're not just this, they're nation, but they're not, you
Yeah,
know.
they're just copycats. Yeah. Yeah,
So,
people need to get together and just move along, but that doesn't seem real likely, unfortunately.
yeah, well, people, we're all, like I said, we've all been living in Stockholm so long, we should all speak Swedish. And people, it's fight, flight, or freeze. And I can speak for myself. I often just freeze, pretend they can't see me.
We all can get in that mode. It only lasts for a while because you're just gonna get stomped on like a cockroach later anyway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes
But
I
but
uh,
I want to, yeah, I do want to insert here. Unless you're standing up on the law and you take that in there, like I said, all the documents I do, I include the law in there. Even on your private plates on your car, I put the law right on there on the document. So if they take your private plate off, on the back of it's got the law. You go into court, you already got your law documented for you, so you don't
so
have to remember.
we have plates available. We're talking about the IDs. I know I forget the gentleman, one of the guys who's been putting out the plates I got from. I mean, he's been doing good work. But is that also a service that we're able to offer to our brothers and sisters?
Sure, I've been doing that for a long time before I ever got wind of Mr. T. I'll say,
Okay.
and the other people doing the same thing. But the difference on mine, which, like I said, I started doing it back in '95. I include the law on everything I do. So if you get stopped or pulled over or whatever, you've got the law right there printed out to back you up.
Yeah, I
Because
remember I used to be from Oregon when I first, jumped into well, we can still call the sovereignty movement if we don't call it sovereign citizens and sound like idiots. Um, but into the sovereignty movement, and I was from Oregon, and there were those folks, and they're still doing it. What's his, Paul Revere and the Embassy of Heaven. What do you think about that movement? I think it hasn't always worked for people, is what I've heard.
I remember looking at it a good while back. I don't recall it, the details of it. I don't put anybody down who's making an effort. Some things are misguided, which I try to warn people about, and misguided not by intent, but by law or in practice, maybe.
Right.
So, but I can't really comment on that. I was familiar with them years ago, something I looked at and then kind of moved on from.
Is there a website at this point? Where can people go right now for more information, Sov?
Right now is not because I haven't had any support. So I basically, I mean, I'm paying for
You just
and it's there before.
right. So they'd have to get in touch with me.
Yeah, so I'm not putting that more.
Right. When it's not there, you just don't do it. It's on hold. I'm the same way. I use
No, you've
my,
always been a good support and help, and we quite a few years.
well, I once I find someone who's honest and has real wisdom, I discuss with them, and I can testify that Sov, he's not a patriot for profit. A lot of people give the movement a bad name. And if Sov's asking for support or setting a fee, it's because it's what's necessary to get it done. And you know, so I'm gonna say again, let's do it, you know. So what do I need to do to, you know,
Okay, I couldn't hear most of that, but let me toss this out there. And this is my own intent, my own idea. Any funds that come in, I've got an account. You can send funds by Zelle, Zelle, to Sam, SAM, at spnwo.com, which stands for Sovereign People's New World Order. My intent, I don't need or want anybody's money. Anything that goes in there is for you, whoever makes the contributions. And like I said, when outside of getting people's IDs and passports or whatever, marriage certificate, marriage documents, and I've done other documents, legal documents that are very important and critical for people to have. For example, a living will, which is smart to have, but it has my customization for a sovereign people, where you
wow.
give your own instructions independent of what the state legislature tells you have the privilege to do or not. So I've got a whole lot behind the scenes. They just haven't, I do it both for myself and for you other people. I just never had any support. And I'm not out there trying to sell anything to anybody. I'm just trying to make corrective changes for myself in a way to offer it to people, should they so choose, to get off their butts and stand up for their own rights and take control of themselves. Simple as that.
Well, they can actually still sit on their butts and do it. I mean,
Well, technically they can, yeah, but at least they'd be taking corrective action.
yes. I don't see any reason not to do it. I mean, I know, and I totally appreciate and support. I mean, we saw like with Nene, he was able to have success as a Native American with using the documents of the Great Sioux Nation, and that's good, you know. Um, does so we're not using the word citizenship, but is it some kind of association? Are we associating with each other in some formal manner with this? What are we becoming part of?
You're cutting a,
What are we becoming part of when
but
we
I'm going to
try?
kind of guess, decide, define what I define sovereign people as. We are a faith-based community of which gives us lawful standing. And lawful is always legal. Legal, which comes with it.
And I apologize to listeners. It seems like they're cutting our.
Anyway, that gives us lawful standing,
Okay, you know what we might do?
self-governing under self.
It if as we go when we're done and we go back and listen to this, if there are gaps in this recording, what we're going to do is record an audio and put still photos up with it. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah, that.
um, we can
Hey,
also,
thank you. We're doing our best.
yeah, and we can also, I like using YouTube because a lot of people get it. What I liked about the blog talk was the ability to put pictures of documents and things up, and that the ability to put text. And I still have a blog talk account, a free one that gives us half an hour. So we can also make use of that, because
Okay.
that's telephone and they're less likely to be able to cut our stream. You know, AT&T is a little bit more cooperative than the internet. So, whatever else, again, we'll have to go back and listen and see what actually was picked up by
All
the
right.
system.
Sounds good. I appreciate your time.
All right, so how are your gardens going down there?
Hey, corn's going like crazy. We've got about 180,000 plants growing. Uh, Onions are doing good. Spinach is doing great. Papaya, mangoes. Uh, yeah, we're doing fine.
Great.
I, I can't list it all.
I can't wait till I have my passport so I can travel again.
Yeah, it'd be good. Well, go ahead and get you one, even if it's a United States passport. Getting it
No, I'm
as a
not. If I'm very tight with my resources, and I'm not going to waste the money. I'm not going that way. The next
okay,
one I'm going to be sovereign.
that can
Sovereign,
be as
that's my motto. Sovereign or bust. They've already
okay,
busted me. So, you know, there's not much more they can do, kick the donkey, right?
right.
So, well, I'm also happy to, be able to, like I say, I know other people who they were pursuing sovereignty and have found themselves in a difficult position where they extracted themselves or herself from the system, but now has no ID, which is problematic for everyone because now she's afraid to drive and this and that, and which becomes an imposition on other people, and repeats um, the need for other people to be employed by someone. It becomes um, I'm not into driving Miss Daisy, with the implicit imperial power structure.
Well,
We're
it
all
comes with fears and difficulties, but remember, if you driving or traveling with a document that has the law on it, that makes a good difference. Because if, like again, she doesn't have a driver's license, or it's been rescinded or revoked,
she
or
has
she
no
rescinded it,
she has no ID. She's totally doesn't exist in their system.
then there's actually no problem. That's to a benefit to her.
Right.
If she had a, for example, and it's not a sales pitch, but if she had like a sovereign American ID, number one, at least she's got one. It is a faith-based document, so it's both lawful and legal. Now they may
Perfect.
not like it, but like I said, they have to accept it. So you
Yay.
just got to know yourself and take control of yourself back.
Well, I'm excited. I'm ready to take control. I'm tired of being a ward of the state.
Right.
Oh,
And
yes,
again,
Matt. Can I please do this? Can I please breathe? Oh, please, Massa. Enough.
I had a lawyer one time use him on a couple of things, but he kept telling me, he said, "You don't need me. You can do all of this stuff by on your own." And so keep that kind of mindset. How can you do it on your own and forget the permissions that are granted by the state think about your rights and powers and how you can accomplish it. And if you have any questions, this is not a sales pitch. I don't probably want to be bothered with it, but you're welcome to contact me if you got an issue, and I'll tell you my opinion on how to do your document or whatever it is that you got.
And again, and he's more than happy to receive donations. He's more than happy to have volunteers. I mean, I'm, he knows long distance. I'm happy to do secretarial, administrative, work because I type really fast and others. This is the way I put it. I mean, in my, that song, the rap song I wrote, Choose Heaven. And, it's like, body of Christ, rise up. Body, get up, stand up, stand up for your rights. You want to be
Exactly.
free? Pull off the shackles, man. Let's do it. You can use those chains to pull a truck if you need to. We have uses for chains. It's just best not to have them on ourselves and on each other, right?
Yeah, good way to put it, Lisa.
Yeah.
And
So,
another thing I want to point out there, any funds that go in it to Sam at spnwo.com, the only funds in there are my funds. And it's not a lot, it's a couple of thousand or whatever. But I've held, and I've had the account for 30, 35 years, set aside for one reason, an account for the people. So any funds that go in there, you release with your consent and permission to be used on behalf of the people. I don't need it. I don't want it. And that's my creation out of my own head. And that's the way that is.
this is what I love about what I'm watching as I watch heaven on Mother Earth unfold is that we each and doing it cooperatively and collectively and co-creatively is that we can come together without losing our individual strength. It doesn't diminish me. It strengthens,
Exactly.
united we stand. And it's like it is, and the natives say, we're in the birth process. We're something newborn, you know, and
For for example, and I don't know the numbers. I haven't looked at it, but my guess is we could start our own telephone company, like Sovereign People's Network, for example. You may want to call it something different, but where we use our own phone services, and at some point numbers get up, we can reduce our own expenses. In the meantime, we're supporting each other.
what about
Eventually, the
hey,
smart
that's
thing to do would be get from not only this phone service, but we have our own phones ourselves that are based probably on Ubuntu as an operating system, and shit can the Apple and the Google and all that crapola. So the people own their own phones, their own phone service, and you can extend that on to other services that you're dependent on government for at this point.
well, like power and water is where they keep really getting us.
Yeah, they hang you on the water, tying it into your taxable property.
What's really killing me right now with the community is the electric bill. That we don't have, we're not set up with solar or batteries. That's where they're really raking me over the coals because we're in the high
What
desert. So
what
everybody's
what,
running air
what are
conditioning.
bills? What are bills looking like these days?
Oh my God, I'm freaking out. I'm almost ready to like shut it down. My last bill with the new 40-foot Damon Intruder RV was $378, and my
Man,
interest is only $960. And one of my tenants is going through senility and decided he was upset that he was being charged out of his 1,500 a month Social Security that I had stolen from him, even though he has, a nice RV to live in, was being given free medicine, rides to the store 3 times a day, he reported to his bank that I had stolen from him for 5 months. He stole $3,500 from me. And I'm not reporting it to the sheriff's office because they're doing another recall of the sheriff right now, and I don't trust the sheriffs. But he could have a nice home in the county jail, because he stole from me, and he's since rescinded, and I'm waiting for it to be straightened out. But as an activist, I mean, people get possessed, they get used. I think the fact that when Stephen King came to Eureka County some years ago, he ended up writing a novel, which became the movie Desperation, which was about an evil sheriff and possessed by some ancient Chinese spirit. And what the spirit did was move from person to person, would possess people, and then the people would act destructively to other people that they were normally kind to. And as a spiritual person, obviously, from the crazy stuff that I talk, I see things from a spiritual perspective, hopefully from a Holy Spirit perspective. I see that I'm definitely being attacked by entities, and that in this land grab that's underway, that they're really hoping to force me off the land. And if they can get me to take myself out, they'll be more than happy, because I've been a thorn in their side for, an annoyance.
Well, all of that points why people need to stand up for themselves individually and collectively and get off their hinds and start moving as one. Take your
Amen.
sovereignty back.
Well, I like the image in the book of Revelations of the multi-eyed, multi-winged flying angel, that which is all of us together. And we need to spread our wings and fly. And so let's just call out to the people of the four directions, white, black, yellow, and red. If you're here for the mending of the hoop and the healing of the earth, and you'd like to actually live in heaven without dying, let's do this. Let's take it back. As far as I know, the heavenly host never gave permission to the Antichrist forces to rule the earth. And the earth is crying in travail. And let's stop it. It's up to each and every one of us. The buck stopped here. Okay? So being that you are a pastor, and I am going to ask you to do the closing benediction, please.
All right, thank you. Lord, thank you for your time with Lisa and all people who joined. Give us the wisdom, the strength, the courage to move as one, to join ourselves, right ourselves individually, right ourselves collectively, and right ourselves for our own governance. Thank you very much, Hannah.
And we say this prayer by the power vested in us by the Holy Spirit, in alliance with all good people. And please deliver us from evil. Because as we move into this time, duality is male and female, not good and evil. Evil is a lie. We are the children of a good creator, and we are created in that image, which means we are to be inherently 100% good. Let it be so. So, on behalf of the bride, we call you. Come to the wedding feast. Let's do this. Bring your bring your proof. Get your documents and come to the feast, and let's bring peace on earth and stop the suffering. Eh?
Thank you,
In
Lisa.
Well, I like they say, I myself can do nothing. It is the Holy Spirit within who doeth all things. All right. We are one. All right. Thank you, everyone. This has been a special broadcast of the Mending the Hoop Council in alliance with Sovereign America. And let's also remember that America is the traditional name of North, South, and Central America. It's always been the name of these lands. We're coming home. Heaven on Mother Earth now. Thank you. Blessings to everyone. We love you. Skenangoa, great peace.
That's all.
All right. So, talk to you soon, Sov.
All right, bye-bye.
Joke chef, Skenangoa. See if I can get out of here. There we go.